All right, let's see if we can get anybody to join us for tonight's study session. Tonight we're doing Beowulf section 1. Got my Beowulf book. Got some water. Let's see if anybody joins us for questions and answers. Give it a few minutes. I know that if you're watching this later, this part is kind of like skip past it because there's Mr. Ramos.
Laundry.
No, don't do laundry.
Huh?
Don't do laundry, it would be too noisy.
Well, I need to watch this.
Okay, well, I'll do it when I'm done. Uh-oh. Says I'm offline.
Hmm? You think it'll be too noisy?
It's offline. I'm having a problem. Why? Why does it say offline? I don't know why. I did start the encoder. Dang it. Why?
What? Will it work?
No, I've got a problem and I can't figure out why it's not working. I did that. This is supposed to... All right, just... I don't know why it won't go online. It still won't go online. I don't know why it won't go online. I don't think I can do it. Go live. Okay, it looks like it's sort of working now. I was having some technical difficulties trying to get it started. I don't know why. It says one is watching, but I think that one is always me. So there's going to be a new URL. I'm going to have to link that over to Twitter and hope people see it. So if you're watching this later, this is starting up late at about 8:20 because I was trying to get it to work. I had to switch over to the Firefox browser, but it generated a new URL now, so I have to go over to Twitter and tweet a new one. Hopefully people will get it. Changing the weblog to. Hopefully that helps. Something was wrong with the link up to between my encoder and the YouTube. Okay, 2 people are watching, so it must be working. I was having a lot of trouble with the technical aspects, so somebody else is here. Who's watching? Go ahead and sign in, say something on the live chat so that I know that it's working. It says that the streaming is not as strong as it could be. Check the video resolution. Okay. It says 2 people are watching, so I'm hoping that somebody can sign in. 3. Okay, that's encouraging. If you can, if you're getting the transmission, can you go ahead and put something in the chat so that I know that you're there? I had a little trouble signing on and getting the encoder to work with YouTube, so I don't know if it's working at this point or not. It says that it's on, but it's like a yellow light, so I'm thinking that means it's not a very strong signal or something. Oh, hi. Alexandra's there. That's good. So something must be working. I had to send out a new URL, so I'm hoping everybody goes to Twitter and sees that. I had a little trouble. Uh-oh. I don't know if it's still doing anything or not. It froze on the YouTube. It worked so smoothly the other day. I don't think it's coming through. I don't think it's working. It says 4 are watching, but on my screen I'm just getting the Alma. So you can see me when I'm talking to you and everything? Because it's not coming through on the YouTube feed. That's weird. Freezes for a second. Okay. Well, let's start with the ones that are here then. I can't really see myself, but that's okay. I don't have to see myself. Let me see. I don't know why the encoder's not coming back up here. Okay, well, let's start with some questions. Why don't you guys, if you can still see me and hear me, have your books handy and also the study guide that I gave you guys, the review paper. Is there anything that you want me to talk about from that paper? I know that we didn't get a huge chance to review. We just went over the questions that people had from their overview of the section. So if you want to type in something that you want me to talk about from the review, or if you want me to talk about how the test is constructed, anything like that, I'd be glad to do for you. I wish I knew more about this stuff to know what was wrong with it. I tried everything I could think of. What did you mean on question 7 by characterize the battle? Okay, so characterize the battle just means kind of describe it and talk about what kind of battle it was. So if you're characterizing the battle between Beowulf and Grendel, that means that you would say that it was violent but short, sort of draw some conclusions about that. Not anything that's outside of the text. Everything has to go back to what the story actually says. But we could say that compared to the other battles, that one's the easiest one that Beowulf has. He's not hurt at all in that battle. He's not really in danger. He grabs the creature Grendel and pretty much doesn't let go until the battle's over. And he wins because he ends up ripping off Grendel's arm. So to characterize that would mean that you would say something, along those lines. That Grendel was scared, he'd never been grabbed before and was, flailing about, describe what happened, and then sort of draw some conclusions from there. I hope that helps. What else? I did put all the characters on the test, so they're either in a matching section or in multiple choice. So make sure that you pay special attention to the characters at the top up here because they do all appear on the test. Okay, question 8. What do you mean on question 8? Oh, I forgot to get my glasses. I think I can do it. The battle between Grendel and Beowulf can be seen as an archetypal opposition. Okay, so archetypal opposition means that, I have a cuckoo clock. It's not always on time. But the archetypal opposition means that an archetype is sort of like a pattern that we see in multiple pieces of literature. So an opposition is like a conflict. So an archetypal opposition would be the types of conflicts that we see in many, many pieces of literature. So good versus evil is one of those archetypes. Clearly, Grendel is supposed to be the evil character because he's associated with Cain, the first murderer in the Bible. He comes and attacks people seemingly for no reason. He eats them in grotesque ways. So that's characterized as the evil side. And Beowulf is good. He's showing up without even being asked to risk his life in order to save people he doesn't even know. And so those are kind of like the good qualities. So that good versus evil comes out in the story in that way. Many stories have these kinds of conflicts. So just about any story you could say there's good versus evil. Even if it's an internal conflict, there's like that, you know, that angel and devil on your shoulder, whispering in your ear, trying to make that decision. So good versus evil is something that we see in lots of literature. And so if you're asked to write about that on the test, you would just write about how you see those two things in conflict in section 1 of the book. There's also paganism versus Christianity and order versus chaos. If you want me to talk about those, then you can just let me know and I will. Anything else? Well, there's a little bit of a delay on here. A couple more people have signed in, that's good. Hopefully the new link is showing. Maybe I should go back and delete that other tweet that had the bad link. Okay. That way people will be sitting there meeting. Okay, 4 people. Okay, you do want me to talk about paganism and Christianity. Okay, just remember that paganism is sort of like an unenlightened religious or spiritual belief. So before Christianity and some other more civilized religions came into play, there were a lot of pagan religions where they worshiped trees and multiple gods and did sacrifices and things like that. And so the advent of Christianity meant a more civilized way of worshiping one God, having a creed and a belief system that was a little more what we would call today moral. And that was seen as a more organized religion and more civilized. So paganism, I don't want to say that it's gone because it's not. There'll be some people, fringe people, who will say that, I'm a pagan. But basically what they mean is that they don't believe in the organized, what we would call enlightened religions. And instead they practice ancient religious rites and things like that for pagan beliefs. So the pagans were sort of brutal, and things that we see symbolically in, say, Christianity would be more literal in a pagan religion. So when we say that we're taking communion in a Christian church, it's not literally the body and blood of Christ, even though it's supposed to be transmogrified into that, but literally it's bread and wine that you're using as a symbol. And in pagan religions, it might not be symbolic, it might be more literal. So, the Mayans would be considered pagans. They slaughtered people and for sacrifices for religious purposes and that sort of thing. So in that sense, you can look and see who in the battle between Beowulf and Grendel has a more Christian attitude and which character has a more pagan attitude. We don't ever see Grendel praying to a Christian god, so he probably represents paganism. And Beowulf probably represents Christianity. Hope that makes sense. It's only going between 3 and 4 people, so I'm a little worried about that. I wish that the software had worked right off the bat, because whenever there's a problem, it's sort of like hard to backpedal. All right, anything else from the study guide that you want to talk about? There's only a few of you, so you might not have questions. Or too many questions. You can ask me questions about what the test is like, too, like how it's constructed, if that is something that you're concerned about. I don't see any more questions or comments there, so if you have anything else, now would be the time. I went back and changed the link on the weblog and on the Twitter. There's 4 people. Okay, so we were just talking about some of the questions on the study guide, so if you're just joining us, I did have some technical difficulties with my encoder and had to generate a new URL, so I don't think too many people are going to sign in. The good news is that I think this is recording, and I can put that up in a little bit. Plus, there was a really good discussion for almost an hour on Thursday that you can watch also. So both of those are available, and I'll put them both side by side on the weblog when we're done. When we're done here. It says 3 are watching. I don't see any more comments there. Okay, Alexandra. How would we be matching the characters on the test? Okay, so on the test, all the characters, not every character here is on the matching part, but if they're not on the matching part, then they will be in the multiple choice section. So all the characters will be on the test, because I just always hated it when I was in school and they would give me a study guide or say, you know, do this part of the book, and then you go to do the test and only half that stuff is on there. So I like to give you a concrete paper, and then I make the test from this paper so that you're not sitting around going, you know, why wasn't that on the test? I studied it. So on the test, the part of the test where the characters are mainly will be matching. And so on one side of the column will be character names, and then you'll match them to descriptions on the other side of the column. There will be more descriptions than there are characters. So that adds a level of difficulty because you're not able to match them all up. There'll be a few leftover descriptions. So you'll really have to know your characters and which descriptions don't have a character that matches to. You just don't match them with anything. So that's sort of an added level of difficulty. But there are maybe 13 of those, 12 or 13 of those. And then there are a couple other characters that I put into the multiple choice. So you'll just match them just like a regular matching column situation. There'll be questions about, make sure that you understand multiple aspects of each character that's listed there. In other words, not just how they're related to other characters, but what they did, why, you know, how they come out in the story, who they come out with, that kind of thing. Anybody else? I'm sorry that it didn't start right on time. There were some problems with the video. There are, let me see, what else can I tell you about the test? There are about, like I said, 12 or 13 matching. There's maybe 10 or 12, maybe 15 multiple choice questions. Those include some vocabulary. And then there are also some true-false questions. The second part of the test will be a short response where you'll have 3 questions that you have to respond to. One of them will be one of the questions from this page. So if you're working on these on your own or in study group or something like that, then, you know, if you feel pretty comfortable about these, one of them will be one of the short response questions. So you have that under your belt. The other one is probably going to be a vocabulary question, and the other one will be a general question about what happens in section 1. So that covers pretty much the whole test and how it's constructed. I give different versions of the test. It's the same number of questions and all of that stuff, but different questions. And I did give that test yesterday to the A classes, and I think most people finished in maybe 40 minutes, half an hour. I don't think that it was terribly taxing. They had plenty of time to get it done. Even a few people took a little bit more because the homework assignment so they could start on that if they finished early. And we'll do the same thing on Monday. All right, anybody else? Anything else you want me to talk about? Clear up for you? I'm waiting for another statement there, but maybe everything's all set. Alexandra and Alma are the only ones that put any comments. I know there's going to be fewer people live with this video because of the problem that I had, but I will put the final product up. There might be a lot of sections where I'm just looking crazy because I'm trying to get it to work. I don't know if it was recording during that time or not. So I'll apologize for that right now if there's parts where I'm getting frustrated. I don't think I swore. I don't think I did. All right, no other questions are coming through. So I'm getting ready to sign off unless there's anything else you want me to talk about. If anything comes up that you really need to know more information about and you are unable to find it in your text or your notes or online in a reliable source, you can certainly email me. I check my email frequently, so you can email me and I'll try to help you out. All right. Okay, I don't see any more comments. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I will put the final. YouTube takes a few minutes to put the video up so that I can make it a regular video, and then I will link that on Twitter and also on the weblog. So thanks for joining me. I'm sorry there were difficulties, but Alma and Alexandra, you guys did a good job asking questions, so that helped out a lot. I hope I was able to answer your questions, and I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Unless something else pops up there, I just saw another person sign in. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and end it. So, oh wait, how would you explain the metaphor on question 12? Oh, okay. For that, you have to go to the book. So you have to go to line 1001. I forgot to grab my glasses. If I'm not mistaken, this is where they're talking about the banqueting, but it's a metaphor. Yeah, so it's on page 67. It says, "But death is not easily escaped from by anyone. All of us with souls, earth dwellers, and children of men must make our way to a destination already ordained, where the body after the banqueting sleeps on its deathbed." So this is a metaphor talking about how once we die, we go to eternal life. So that's a Christian ideal that's sort of influenced into the work. But the metaphor is the banqueting. So it's about the body sleeping after the banqueting. You know, like on Thanksgiving, after you eat dinner, you're super tired and you go to sleep. Well, I do. Then it's sort of like that. And they're saying, however, with our immortal soul. So if the banqueting is the celebration and the enjoying of life, then that's life. And then going to sleep is death. So it's about how everybody is going to die at some point in time, and there's nothing we can do about that. We might as well enjoy the banquet because it's going to end. That's sort of depressing, but we all know that it's true. So that's the metaphor, the banquet. Okay, I'm seeing that a couple more people are joining. Maybe we're getting back on YouTube. That's good because I was just about to sign off. But are there any other questions? We already talked a little bit about question 8, and we talked about question 7 and also question 12. So if you're interested in those, you can wait until I post the video up later on. But are there any other questions around the characters? We also talked about the construction of the test, about how many questions and how that's set up and how it went for the A groups yesterday. So are there any other items that you wanted me to talk about? Or the characters at the top? Went to the volleyball game today. We had a tough loss, but it was exciting to see the girls in action. Football game last night, same thing, except not girls, boys. All right, anything else? Look through your notes. Maybe there's some other things that you noticed when you were reviewing that came up that you might have put on your card the other day, but you didn't because you just figured it out or just thought of the question. All right, we're 40 minutes in, so I don't see any more questions or anything that people want me to talk about. My YouTube thing is frozen and hasn't unfrozen, so I'm hoping it has to be working because I'm getting more questions. So I don't know what it's going to look like when I go to upload it. But what was the back of the study guide for? Hi, Mariana. Yeah, so you would know that if you had done all of your questions because it says on number 2, Grendel is often described as one of Cain's clan. Read the passage on the back of this page, a segment from Genesis. What qualities do Grendel and Cain share? What reasons could the Beowulf Shope have for connecting Grendel to Cain? So the back part is an excerpt from Genesis, and it's sort of explaining why they are saying that Grendel is of Cain's clan. That's probably not possible because if Cain really was a real person, that would have been thousands and thousands and thousands of years and in a different part of the world. But the writers or the Shope is trying to give us the feeling that Grendel is from an ancient evil clan. And that's why he's equating Grendel with Cain. But the passage, if you read it, is sort of like the description of Grendel in the book in some ways. So the idea is that whoever wrote it down got the idea from Cain and that situation. So overlay that with the character of Grendel. But it's because of question number 2 that that's on the back of the page. Anything else? I see 5 people are still on. I think one of them is me. No, now it's down to 3. Maybe it's because I keep saying that I'm going to sign off, and then there's another question that pops up. Give it another 30 seconds or so, and then I'll go ahead and sign off. So if you have something that you want me to talk about, like I said, you can also email me and I'll respond to you. It's not an immediate response, but usually within a few hours, I'll check the email and get back to you. I do think that the struggle point on the test for yesterday on the A group was the vocabulary. I tried on purpose to pick vocabulary words that I felt were very important for you to have looked up when you were reading section 1, or that were repeated and showed up multiple times, but I think that they still struggled with those, so they might have done well on the other questions, but if they got a few points off, it might have been because of the vocabulary. I think that there were 3 vocabulary questions on the multiple choice, and then one of the open questions, the written responses, is a vocabulary question too. So I'm kind of forcing y'all to expand your vocabulary. I know that's not fun, but the hard work never is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. There are 3 remaining on there. I don't see any more questions, but feel free to contact me if you have any more in the next day while you're studying. So thanks for joining me tonight. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I guess we sort of got it going. And we can try this some more in the future if you think that it was helpful. There was almost an hour-long back and forth where I went over more questions because there were a lot more people that were joining in on Thursday. So that one's linked on the weblog already. You can go back and watch that one too if you think that it will be helpful. So I guess I'll sign off and say I'll see you in class. Bye.